Hello, and welcome to AJL's Digital Conference 2021 Moving Forward. I'm Emily Bergman, and I'm the AJL co-liaison to ALA, and it is my pleasure to be moderating this session today. I would like to introduce you to our technical support team, Heidi Rabinowitz and Kathy Bloomfield, who are here to make sure the Zoom session runs smoothly. Thanks also to Carben for sponsoring this session. Before I introduce our speakers, I want to highlight a few important details from the AJL Digital Conference Attendee Guidelines, which you received with your Socio app information. All sessions are being recorded. If you do not wish your face to be seen on the recording, please turn off your video now. We ask that you remain muted unless invited to unmute. Closed captions are available during all conference sessions. You can turn them off or on by clicking the live transcript CC button. Please introduce yourself in the chat with your name, where you're from, and where you work. If you have questions or comments during the session, don't raise your hand, but please type them into the chat. We will forward your questions to the speakers at the appropriate time. If you are referring to this event on social media, please use hashtag AJL_21 in your posts. Please take a moment to rate this program in Socio at the end of the session. So I'm Emily, and before I introduce our speakers, I wanted to talk about my work in ALA as it relates to issues of diversity. Then we'll have two other speakers who will give very useful information about two important ALA organizations related to diversity. As you know, ALA has lots of initials that get thrown around. I hope you'll have some idea when we're done what we do and who does it. ALA actually has a Jewish Information Committee, and it has been around for a long time. It used to be very active, but has not been so active lately. I'm the current committee chair, and I'm trying to make it active again. It is a committee of the Ethnic Materials Information Exchange Roundtable, EMIRT. EMIRT may be best known as the home for the Coretta Scott King Awards. In the 2 years that I've chaired the committee, we were able to get our own Heidi Rabinowitz as a speaker for last year's virtual ALA annual conference, which I just learned was actually not called an annual conference. The EMIRT's chairs program had to be changed when the conference went virtual. So the topic of the program became promoting multicultural library services in virtual spaces, and Heidi was one of the two speakers. I was able to get an additional program on last year's annual conference with Heidi and her colleague, Sadaf Siddiqui, who is Muslim, on Jewish and Muslim books for children through the Jewish Information Committee. And it was to be just before the Shmooze and Nosh, so the timing couldn't be better. When the conference went virtual, it could not be included. So it became EMIRT's first webinar titled Combating Anti-Semitism and Islamophobia with Multicultural Children's Literature. And they decided to make it free to everyone. I'll put the link in the chat, and it should be on the AJL website soon. Currently, Heidi and Sadaf are working on a project with which EMIRT will assist and will host on its website to create book lists on various topics by a wide variety of diverse groups. Heidi and Sadaf presented the EMIRT poster session on this project for the ALA Conference Diversity Fair this year. Each of the activities these last 2 years takes time and effort. So if anyone is a member of ALA, I hope you'll join EMIRT and volunteer for the committee. I do hope to bring more programs and activities of Jewish interest and topics, but I need your help. Because Heidi brings so much content we need, our programming has been primarily about children. EMIRT itself seems to focus primarily on children's materials, but I would like to branch out and have adult programming and projects too. And I hope you'll share some ideas with me. You don't have to be an ALA member to be a presenter at an ALA conference. You know that ALA has several book awards on diverse populations. Our Sidney Taylor Award winners are announced with all the other children's book awards at the Youth Media Awards announcement at ALA Midwinter Meeting. There's also an award for the best adult Jewish book for the general reader. The Sophie Brody Medal, named after the wife of the founder of Brodart, is sponsored by RUSA, the Reference and User Services Association of ALA. The Sophie Brody Medal is awarded at a lovely reception at the RUSA Book and Media Awards. Membership always includes the chair of the EMERT Jewish Information Committee, that's me this year, and a representative from the Association of Jewish Libraries. Rachel Kamen is currently the AJL rep to the Sophie Brody Committee. Finally, ALA has an EDI assembly that meets quarterly. Kathy Bloomfield and I are both members, and I hope that our first speaker, Amber, is able to tell you more about the EDI assembly. Now I'd like to introduce our two major speakers this morning. Amber Hayes is the Outreach and Communications Program Officer within ALA, ODLOS, Office for Diversity, Literacy, and Outreach Services. She coordinates communications for ODLOS and works with members to develop and promote outreach materials. She is also the staff liaison to ALA's Committee on Rural, Native, and Tribal Libraries of all kinds, ALA's Subcommittee on Services to Refugees, Immigrants, and Displaced Persons, the Association of Bookmobile and Outreach Services, and the Association for Rural and Small Libraries. Amber will talk to us about ODLOS. Our second speaker is Kenneth Yamashita. I just found out I can call him Ken, who was born in a Japanese American concentration, FDR's term, relocation, US government propaganda term, incarceration camp at Topaz, Utah. His 40-year career in public library services and management included opportunities at the Montclair, New Jersey Public Library, Decatur, Illinois Public Library, Chicago Public Library, Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners in Boston, New England Library Board in Augusta, Maine, and the Stockton San Joaquin County, California Public Library. After retirement from the SSJCPL as city librarian, Ken was elected president of the Joint Council of Librarians of Color, Inc. Board of Directors. He's a former two-term consecutive elected ALA counselor at large, a past president of Asian Pacific American Librarians Association, APALA. I had to look it up because everything that starts with A is always association, but it's Asian Pacific American Librarians Association. The 2007 ALA Equality Award representative and a 40-plus year member of ALA. Ken will talk about the important work of the Joint Council of Librarians of Color.
Thank you, Emily. So I do have a short presentation since I'm pretty sure the work of ODLOS might be new to some folks. So give me 1 second while I toggle with Zoom, please. I did it. All right. So as Emily said, my name is Amber Hayes, and I work for ALA's Office for Diversity, Literacy, and Outreach Services. Two major distinctions first between divisions and offices, in which Emily noted about RUSA's work with AJL and Jewish literature, is that divisions typically require an additional fee because they have a specialized interest. So like either reference user services, public library specific, school library specific, or academic specific. Offices do not have a specific fee, and most of the things I want to talk about are free for any library worker within the country and outside the country. So these opportunities are available for everyone. So that is me. My name is Amber Hayes. I do communications and outreach, but like all things in the world, I do a little bit more too. I joined ODLOS back in 2018, and I have a background in outreach with international populations. For that, I tend to liaison with the outreach associations, which are ABOS, the Association for Bookmobile and Outreach Services, ARSO, the Association for Rural and Small Libraries. ALA has a committee that is dedicated to working on issues related to tribal, rural, and small libraries. And we also have a subcommittee that works with displaced persons, refugees, and immigrants. So who is ODLOS? The ALA Office for Diversity, Literacy, and Outreach Services supports library and information science workers in creating responsible, and all-inclusive spaces that serve and represent the entire community. To accomplish this, we decenter power and privilege by facilitating conversations around access and identity as they impact the profession and those we serve. We use a social justice framework to inform library and information science workers' development of resources. We strive to create an association culture where these concerns are everyone's everyday work. And just something interesting to note is that this is actually two offices. Back in, I believe, 2016, it was the Office for Diversity and the Office for Literacy and Outreach Services. And our then director noted there was a shared bond between the two with social justice and bringing services to those who are, has a tendency to be left out. So with that became the merger of our two offices with a shared social justice framework. Here are the three frameworks within OTLOS. So diversity, to create an understanding and appreciation for cultural and social differences. Cultural competency, effectively interacting with people of different backgrounds and culture. And social justice, focus on power dynamics among different groups of people while acknowledging historical and institutional inequities. This is us. Kevin Schroeder is our director. He just started 7 days ago, so he's a bit new, but he will definitely be involved in all conversations related to AJL and office's work going forward. Kristen LaHerde was our interim director for about 1.5 years, but in her main job, she's the assistant director for literacy and continuing education. So that means that she handles our literacy initiatives across all ALA, as well as creates continuing education opportunities, which includes trainings on equity, diversity, inclusion, topics for staff, library staff, as well as free webinars available to all library workers who are interested. There's me, and then there's Monica Chapman. I actually forgot someone here, sorry. Shantae Sykes joined our team in September, and she works with our interest groups, which I will talk more about. So what do? We work with roundtables and committees. Emily mentioned EMERT, which is the Ethnic and Multicultural Information Exchange Roundtable. That's one of the 3 we work with. We have a research grant that is directed to improving diversity within librarianship. We've got book awards, which include the Prescott King Book Awards and the Stonewall Book Awards. The Spectrum Scholarship Program, which is an initiative to increase the number of BIPOC librarians in the profession. We have outreach toolkits, which are available on our website for free. We have a monthly newsletter, a blog. Our staff can do consultations with library staff about their strategic planning. We have free webinars, and we have workshops and presentations that are available for staff and conferences like this. So the roundtables we work with include EMERT. And like I said, that includes the Prescott King Book Awards, which is a book award for youth books, kid lit books that highlight the Black experience. There's also 2 professional awards. Sorry, I heard myself for a second. Professional awards, the EMERT Distinguished Librarian Award and the David Cohen EMERT Multicultural Award. And then the Rainbow Roundtable, which is a roundtable that has a mission of improving and sharing networks related to LGBTQIA issues within librarianship. There's a book award, the Stonewall Book Award is there for both kid lit and adult fiction. Then the Rainbow Roundtable has 3 professional awards, the Political Activism Award, Library Roman Mentorship Award, and the Newland Simons Award. There's also Rainbow Book Month, which just ended, and it's basically Pride, but for books. So if you have book displays or anything related to Pride Month in your library, you can use Rainbow Book Month to highlight that and show off your great work in your library. And lastly, we work with CERT, which is a Social Responsibilities Roundtable. And they have the mission of advancing social justice and progressive ideas within the association. They are responsible for the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Observance and Sunrise Celebration, which celebrates Dr. King's legacy, and is typically an in-person event that would take place during late midwinter at sunrise and kind of promotes brotherhood within librarianship. There's also the Afternoon of Social Justice. This will be their 2nd year doing it, and it's an afternoon of various webinars that discuss social justice aspects. Last year, it was on Native American treaty rights and COVID-19. I believe gender within librarianship, and then there's one more I forget, but this year is happening on July 8th from 12 Central to 4 p.m. Central. There are links going out. I can also share them in the chat later, but there's discussions on, once again, COVID relief, homelessness with teens and adults as well, and race within librarianship. Please. Libraries Respond. So Libraries Respond is an initiative that we created back in 2017 with the Dakota Pipeline. And it was kind of a resource guide that kind of highlights, so not social justice only, but like current events and how they intersect with librarianship. So we have Library Respond pages for doxing. We have Library Respond pages for Drag Queen Story Hour support. And then we created 3 new ones this year. Black Lives Matter. This was created in June of last year in an effort to advance the Black Lives Matter mission and to kind of talk about race and microaggressions and whatnot within the profession. Combating xenophobia and fake news in light of COVID-19. This has been an ongoing issue. I'm sure we all know about the growing and horrific xenophobic remarks related to Asian Americans and Asians related to COVID-19. And protecting and supporting transgender staff and patrons is, as it is, it's articles and policies that might help your library understand how to better serve both staff and patrons. And those are available here. I can also drop this in the chat. We have tons of them. There's some on immigrant populations. We have a few on microaggressions and others like that. EDA Speakers Bureau was at the direction of our 2017, I believe, president of ALA, which wanted to make basically a clearinghouse for EDI experts to talk about various topics. So EDI Speakers Bureau is this clearinghouse. We have over 70 speakers who are available to speak with library staff or, usually library staff or, board directors about equity, diversity, and inclusion topics. Can be race, can be KIT-LIT, can be microaggressions, can be LGBTQIA issues, anything. So you can basically type in a subject you're looking for, your location, city or state, and you hit search. And so let's pretend I put things in. And I would get a page similar to this. Fatima Perkins is available to speak about, I don't think I put it, but outreach and advocacy for the aging and dementia, I believe. So it tells you for the speaker's fee, if they're a Spectrum Scholar, which I'll talk about where they're at and willing to travel. We did add a new field about if they're available for virtual conferences. And please note that this is just folks in the field who are available to speak. They're not in any way, like, as you said, vetted or approved, quote unquote, by ALA, but we do update this quarterly. So if you know someone or think you should be added here, please feel free to also fill out the nomination form or submission form here. So EDICon is our office's flagship all-day training related to EDI. It's kind of the foundations of equity, diversity, inclusion training. So it provides foundational understanding of ourselves and our interactions needed to begin to identify and disrupt learned behaviors. This is a training that our staff puts on for library staff across the US. It was originally designed as a full day in-person, institute, but it has been adapted to be over the course of 3 days, virtual trainings for libraries as well. Other trainings we have include cultural competence, facilitating conversations about race, identifying microaggressions, implicit bias, inclusive communication, a foundation for developing cultural competence, uncovering privilege and addressing microaggressions. Like I said, these are all created to be like a 1 hour in-person workshop, but they have been finagled to be more virtual as well. So they can be 1 hour trainings or 1 hour webinars if folks are interested. And pricing, more information can be found here, which I can also drop in the chat after this. So the Spectrum Scholarship Program is in its 21st year. It is a program that actively recruits and provides scholarships to American Indian, Alaska Native, Asian, Black, African American, Hispanic, Latino, Middle Eastern, and North African and or Native Hawaiian, other Pacific Islander students to assist them with attaining a graduate degree and leadership opportunities within the profession and ALA. So it is a $6,500 scholarship. $5,000 goes directly to 1 year of education, and then $6,500 goes to professional development in the and under the guise of going to ALA Annual. So next year will be in DC. So we'll bring all 60 of our scholars to DC, and we'll kind of hold a mini conference for them, which will allow them to network with other scholars, to learn more about, BIPOCs, Black, Indigenous people of color within the profession, and just kind of create space for these folks. As we know, librarianship is roughly 86% white. And so it's very important for us to create these spaces for BIPOC librarians to kind of grow, network, and find a place for themselves as well. So we are about to announce our 2021 scholars, hopefully next week, but applications do open annually in the fall. So if you know someone or would like to apply yourself, it opens September 1st to March 7th, with the announcements happening in June. All right, so that brings me to the end of my presentation. So how to get involved. If you're an ALA member, please feel free to join a roundtable or committee related to equity, diversity, and inclusion. Like Emily mentioned, we have the EDI Assembly. It was the charge of a 2019 task force that wanted to improve equity, diversity, and inclusion within the association. So the purpose of EDI Assembly is to bring folks who are interested in EDI or various aspects of people who work with EDI, so of course AJL, JCLC, and other groups like that, to discuss equity, diversity, inclusion, and how we can move forward as a profession. So we typically have topics during these meetings. One was, of course, hate crimes against Asian Americans and how libraries can respond. We had one about disinformation and misinformation surrounding, I believe, the election. And then, of course, on election, we have othering of folks. So I don't know if you know, but during the election, pundits were talking about 86% voted this way, 3% voted this way, 2% voted this way. And there was an other category, and that other category referred to Native Americans. So it was talking about the erasure of Native Americans in the media and other aspects as well. We do have various committees, like I talked about. We have the rural, Native, and tribal libraries, immigrants, refugees. We have a committee on diversity, a committee related to, I'm missing one, of course, spectrum, and so on. We also have interest groups, so folks who are interested in serving dementia, Alzheimer's, librarian patrons, deaf, print disabilities, and folks who are just as involved, so those who are incarcerated or formerly incarcerated. We encourage you to attend our events. We do have events at annual, in person, or virtual as well. So like I said, we have the CERT Afternoon of Social Justice happening on July 8th. I will happily drop information in the chat. Subscribe to our monthly newsletter. It is the EDI update. It happens the third Thursday of every month. And you will get EDI information across the association as well as our office. And you are more than welcome to submit a blog post for our blog Intersections. If you have any questions, feel free to email me there. Now let Ken talk more about JCLC. And Ken, I think you're muted.
And you need to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to give a brief history of the Joint Conference of Librarians of Color. The Joint Conference of Librarians of Color, JCLC, was the brainchild of Sasha Marshall Orange, the former director of the ALA Office for Literacy and Outreach Services, ALA OLOS. Sasha recognized that the power of the ethnic caucuses, as she called them, existed within their collaboration with one another. She nurtured these relationships by hosting Thursday pre-ALA conference dinners of the caucus presidents and vice presidents and the ALA diversity officer, Sandra Rios Balderrama. As Sandra eloquently stated, quote, Sasha really worked on encouraging collaborations between caucuses and active support of one another's issues, unquote. From 1998 to 2001, during these informal dinners, the ethnic caucus leaders showcased their association's programs, initiatives, and events, and discussions about the successful Black Caucus 1992, 94, and 97, and Reforma's 1996 national conferences became a hot topic. The seeds were planted and the vision developed during these joint meetings of the ethnic caucus leaders. And in 2002, the first meeting of the 2006 Joint Conference of Librarians of Color Steering Committee was held. The conference steering committee was and is comprised of 2 appointees from each of the 5 ethnic caucuses: the American Indian Library Association, AILA, the Asian Pacific American Librarians Association, APALA, the Black Caucus of the American Library Association, BCALA, the Chinese American Librarians Association, CALA, and the National Association to Promote Library and Information Services to Latinos and the Spanish-speaking, Reforma. Formerly known as the ethnic caucuses, as well as ALA's ethnic affiliates, we are now called the National Associations of Librarians of Color, or NALCOs. The first JCLC was held on October 11th through the 15th in Dallas, Texas. The conference theme was Gathering at the Waters, Embracing Our Spirits, Telling Our Stories. It was the first ever national conference to be held and sponsored by all 5 of the NALCOs. JCLC 2012 was held on September 19th through the 23rd in Kansas City, Missouri. The conference theme was Gathering at the Waters, Celebrating Stories, Embracing Communities. In June 2015, after the NALCO leaders acknowledged that in-kind support of the JCLCs by the ALA was not sustainable, the Joint Council of Librarians of Color, Inc. formed as a nonprofit 501c3 organization that advocates for and addresses the common needs of the NALCOs and serves as the fiduciary body for the Joint Conferences of Librarians of Color. The JCLC 2018 was held on September 26th through 30th in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The conference theme was Gathering All Peoples, Embracing Culture and Community. Our 10-member steering committee is currently planning for the 2022 JCLC to be held on October 5 through 9 in St. Pete Beach, Florida. The conference theme is Gathering for Action, EDI, Where Do We Go From Here? Please visit www.jclc.org/JCLC-2022 for more information. Again, www.jclcinc.org/JCLC-2022/. The vision statement of the Joint Council of Librarians of Color is to address the professional and personal development, continuing education, and collegial networking needs and requirements of library professionals of color, and to promote library and information services to communities of color through collaborative national conferences, programs, and events. The purpose or mission of the Joint Council is, number one, to bring together librarians, library staff, students, educators, trustees, and advocates throughout the country who are or who serve persons and communities of color. Two, to support the organization, planning, promotion, presentation, and evaluation of conferences such as the JCLC, programs, and events on a regular basis in collaboration with the 5 National Associations of Librarians of Color, NALCO. The JCLCs are scheduled every 4 years since 2018. Emily, would you please share the slide of the JCLC Inc. Board of Directors?
Hold on, I can share it.
Thank you.
Can you see it?
Yes, great. The JCLC Inc. Board is comprised of 5 directors, each appointed by one of the 5 NALCOs. Starting from the top left, Alexandra Rivera, Vice President, representing Reforma. Next is Heather Devine Hardy, Secretary, representing ALA. Then Dora Ho, Treasurer, representing KALA. Next is Kenyamashita, President, representing APALA. And Gladys Smiley Bell, Director at Large, representing BCALA. That's it.
Emily, thank you, Ken. Are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
So I actually have 2 questions. I was going to let whoever asked the questions ask the questions. What is the relationship between the JCLC organizations, all those affiliates, to ALA? And do members of APALA and the other affiliates have to belong to ALA to be members of APALA?
I can answer that question. The relationship of the NALCOs to ALA is that they're all affiliates. And the liaison is the ALA Office for Diversity, Literacy, and Outreach Services. And no members of APALA or any of the other NALCO organizations do not have to be ALA members.
And I will note too that folks in those affiliates don't also necessarily belong to that background. So there are folks like, of course, I can belong to the Black Caucus of ALA, but I can also belong to APALA. I can belong to ALA. It's just to make sure there's information sharing and to understanding what's going on. And these groups are meeting a specific need.
Okay. I ask because I think that there's a similarity because AJL is an affiliate, ALA affiliate. So do we fit that sense of the ethnic affiliates Amber, with whom you work?
So that is a good question. So I don't know the long history behind these ethnic affiliates. Of course, it started with Stacia Orange, who was our director 20 years ago and started these conversations. But the ethnic affiliates were chosen, from my I understand, didn't meet the needs of diversifying librarianship. So we don't have, of course, we're lacking in BIPOC librarians, we're lacking in Black librarians, American Indian librarians, Chinese American librarians, etc. So these librarians didn't see themselves represented in ALA, understandably, so create their own separate organizations. But there, of course, is an intersection between our office's mission, through Spectrum, of course, and other avenues, to advance these concerns, to diversify the profession. So with those, we have a strong programmatic relationship. We do a lot of crossover with attending conferences. We do a lot of crossover with sponsoring programs for conferences or creating things, but not just our office as well. Like, I know the Black Caucus created a whole, like, I think it's a comic books by Black authors or BIPOC authors, reading lists and things like that. So our relationship in that aspect stemmed from our mission to diversify and create a space for BIPOC librarians. But of course, with the work with eMERT, there's always been an avenue to deepen that relationship as well. And I hope that made sense.
Sure. I know that the AJL wants to be more involved with all of these EDI issues. And so I'm just trying to find our way in.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy, I saw your hand was up.
Yeah, with the rise in not only Asian American issues and anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, I am concerned with how do people with religious backgrounds, and Judaism is this, the Jewish community is such an interesting issue because it sort of straddles between religion and culture and ethnicities and all that. But I'm wondering how people with religious affiliations can have a voice at ALA in this office of diversity. While many people present as white, we in many cases are targets for the not so morally responsible people in our society. So I really feel like, Jewish, Muslim, Baha'i, anyone who can demonstrate their religiosity needs a seat at the table to have a discussion of what can we do as librarians, what can we do as an organization to help people understand our ways of life better. So I just wonder if there could be a chair at the table that's for religiously affiliated librarians. I don't know the right term, and we also have Jews of color in our midst, but yeah, so I just want to know, how do we get a seat at this table? That's really my question.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like this would be the start of how JCLC got started. So the whole issue with the formerly ethnic caucuses was that they did not have a voice at ALA. They did not feel that they had a space at ALA. And so as Stacia Orange said, because I believe she was a member of all of those organizations before, like, you're stronger together than separately. So it could be that, like, all these affiliates come together, the heads say, hey, we don't have a voice within ALA. We think that these needs are not being met. Can we come together, make like some kind of like gathering, or not even a whole separate, like, 501(c)(3), but a community, and that can put together its voices be heard to the executive board, because like Station Ken said, like, you know, it's not a numbers game, but like you're stronger together than separately. So if these are all shared concerns of various groups, you can make these this case to executive board saying that we are all these affiliates of ALA, we have shared missions, and we think that our needs are not being met because X, Y, Z.
Thank you.
I think one of the things that the Association of Jewish Libraries as an affiliate might do is release a statement on anti-Semitism and how libraries can address the issue, and then have it endorsed by the NALCOs, the National Associations of Librarians of Color, and then forward it to the ALA Executive Board for their endorsement.
Good idea. Thank you.
I just want to step in and say, I think that's a wonderful idea. We actually have put out a statement about anti-Semitism. Actually, I think we've done that twice in the last couple of years because of the spikes in anti-Semitic action. But I love the idea of having it endorsed by the Joint Conference of Librarians of Color, by ALA, because I think what we're really looking for is allyship. You know, we feel a very strong sense of that when social justice is for all of us, and that we all need to stand up for each other. And I know that we're within the Jewish community, we're aware of how historically the Jewish community has joined the fights for civil rights of many different groups, not just of our own group. And so we're very eager to work with other people who are targeted, because the target affects all of us. So that's a really great suggestion. And I'm wondering if you have any other thoughts on ways that we can build allyship together between AJL and your organizations.
One thing that AJL could do is submit a program proposal for the 2022 JCLC conference. And it could be related to Jewish and communities of color alliances. And I think another program could be anti-Semitism within communities of color. I think that would be a very compelling topic.
So those are really excellent suggestions. Thank you so much. We have been submitting so many proposals annually to ALA and through AJL, and some of them have been partnerships, and we haven't gotten any of them really accepted. So any other avenues are appreciated.
Yeah, I just want to like highlight that the JCLC is a separate organization from ALA. So yeah, the conference is in October 2022. Is it submissions are open now, or are they opening soon? Ken?
Opening soon.
Okay, so yeah, I think that'd be a great avenue to get in. And if I know it's competitive, the ALA annual process has so many submissions every year. But if you can get a sponsorship, like if eMERT is willing to host it as their presence program, or CERT is willing to host it as their presence program, that'd be great. OLOS is also open to, this is always like so programmatic specific, right? But OLOS is also open to hosting webinars by library folk everywhere. So if you have a topic that hasn't get much traction, but you want it shared with the world, we're more than happy to host a webinar whenever.
I sorry to interject. I just want to point out that one of my frustrations, the start of the conference in 2022, October 5th, is Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day of the Jewish year.
Oh, my.
So I just want to, so we would certainly be able to come October 6th, 7th, or 8th, but we certainly couldn't come on October 5th. So I just want to point that out, that the Jewish calendar being what it is, it's always so fluctuating back and forth and when and where and everything. So I think it's a great idea, and I hope that we can put together a program. Probably the first day wouldn't be a day that's going to be the busiest day as far as programming anyway, but I just wanted to point that out.
Actually, the first day is for pre-conferences. So the actual conference starts on the 6th.
Perfect.
Those are excellent suggestions. I'm really happy to get this conversation going. Does the audience, I want to make sure everybody gets a chance. If anybody else who is here in this meeting has any thoughts or questions, and just to have everybody kind of shake your brain a little bit and see if there's anything else we might be able to brainstorm in terms of ways that we can work together and support each other.
I want to ask, I don't know who to ask, so I'm going to ask Amber. I noticed that I can't remember how NALCOs?
The
Right.
National Association of Librarians of Color. Mhm.
Right, thank you. Have president's programs at the conference.
Mhm.
Could AJL also have a president's program?
Yeah, I believe all ALA affiliates should have president's programs at conference.
We didn't know, or we would have
Okay.
absolutely
Yeah.
done it.
What do we do to make that happen?
So Cheryl Malden is the one who sends out the information to the affiliates, and I believe Ken handed you information this year, but she should send it out like when the conference site opens, which is usually in November, December, I think. But to my knowledge, every ALA affiliate gets a president's program.
We had no idea.
That's fantastic.
That is fantastic.
We
And that
thought
does,
there was a huge, 20 pounds of paperwork kind of process, but no, it doesn't sound
No.
like that.
Mm-mm.
No.
right.
Mm.
So that actually sort of takes care of my and I think Susan Cusell also commented how hard we've tried to get relevant programming. But I was able to get that program, which ended up turning into a webinar for last summer's ALA conference through the JIC. But I think having a committed AJL President's Program gives us the same kind of importance as BCALA and APALA and Reforma and CALA, so that we're not buried somewhere. And this is the best news of the last hour for me. And
I'm sorry that's new news, but yeah.
I'm sorry, it's new news too. But I'm already in my head planning the committee that's going to be working on this program. And we'll be talking to Cheryl as soon as possible. I understood that Cheryl was going to be retiring soon. Am I wrong about that?
I mean, she could be. I don't know when her exact year is, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As of right now, she's still she's still doing
She's
everything.
still it. So we'll go after her before she leaves. She has to put this into place.
Yes. And it's
great.
basically just giving you the login information to submit your own program. It's not much of a heavy lift.
Great. That's great. Really.
Also the great thing about affiliates presidents programs is they're not juried, so they automatically become part of the conference.
Wow.
I know.
I have a question. So at the beginning of this session, Emily mentioned that along with my friend Sadaf Siddiqui, we are working with EMERT to create a program where we're going to try to recruit people who know about children's books from different cultural groups who can each form a suggested reading list based on universal themes. So that, say, food, for example, as a universal theme, and that each group can recommend stories representing their own voices on those themes, and that there would be a series of different themes throughout the year. So we're at the very beginning of that, and we haven't yet recruited the other cultural groups. So if you could help us reach people in the African American community, in the Asian American community, and so on, all the different groups represented maybe by JCLC, that would be a really big help, because that's the next step in this idea, is to find people who can make those well-informed suggestions of titles. Would you be able to help us with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Yes.
if Ken doesn't have any like specific suggestions, I'm more than happy to pass on a note. I have communication channels through all the NALCOs, so I can always send the words to their presidents to ask as well.
That would be terrific. Thank you. Because it's, I know Emer's really excited to host it, but we need to actually get the people together to make it happen, build the dream team.
And this
Thank
will
you.
go beyond those groups. So Heidi didn't talk about that. She's also interested in LGBTQ booklet.
Right. Yes,
and
not only ethnic, but all of the people who generally
disability.
get picked on,
Right.
all need to be represented.
And with your relationship, Amber, to the Stonewall Awards and the Rainbow Roundtable, perhaps you can help us, because we don't know where to go to find the experts on issues around LGBTQ children's literature and disability. Who would be the expert to create these they're just quarterly, I think, Heidi, right?
That's the idea. I mean,
It's
it's still written in Jello because it hasn't happened yet, but quarterly was the idea.
Right. So it's things like, as Heidi said, food, but they're thinking about STEM and family, things things that, as she said, are universal. And I believe, Heidi, that we're just talking about if the list is just one book per picture books, one for middle grade and one for young adult. Is that right, Heidi?
There's no rules. We're making this up right now. It can
Right.
be done however people want to do it. If everybody is excited and they all want to do 20 titles, great. If everybody wants to kick in one title and we'll make a joint list, that could work too. It's just a matter of building the team and then deciding what we want to do.
Right, right. I just, this doesn't have to be a huge imposition on anybody. We just need to know who. And then I'm stepping back because my role is just because I agreed to work with Emert, and it's Heidi and Sadaf who really know what this project is going to be. Okay, are there any other questions before? Okay, all right. Thank you, Amber and Ken. I hope our attendees this morning at this morning's session will see a role for themselves in ALA. Thanks also to Opals for sponsoring this session, and thanks to all of you for participating in AJL's digital conference moving forward. Recordings of all sessions and copies of the chats will be made available to you later.
I just want to say Carben is the sponsor of this program. That's okay.
Yes,
We've got so much going on. And I also want to thank Ken and Amber, on behalf of all of AJL for coming in today and speaking with us. I think this has been a very informative and energizing session for us. And really, I think that we have thought of ALA as being this kind of monstrous, behemoth that we have to tackle and chip away at and all that, but it sounds like there are opportunities here for us that are much easier to get in than we thought. So I so appreciate your time and your presentations. They've been so helpful. So thank you so very much.
Thank you all. I look forward to future collaborations.
Absolutely. You may regret that, Amber.
I'm just forwarding on.
Thank you so
Who
much.
was just speaking is our AJL president. So
Yes, I am. So once in a while, I get to really insert myself.